What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 2 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. Tune in every week as we cover a subject and interview industry leaders on how you can grow your hardscaping business, from new installation methods, techniques, tools, marketing, financials, and so much more. Join us on our Facebook page to find out first everything that is going on at How to Hardscape, and join the community of our hardscapers on our Facebook group, I Am a Hardscaper, where you can network with your peers. Again, join us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/howtohardscape. On today's episode, we're going to be talking with you about how you can start a hardscaping business with no money and no experience. And I'm going to be relating this to my own journey and how you can gain experience and how you can make the money to start your hardscaping business. Let's jump right into it. So from the very beginning, I started my hardscaping business with no money in my pocket, and I gained the experience by working full time in a stone yard, in a place where we sold the products that hardscapers use to install. So all the pavers, all the interlock, all the retaining wall products, I helped in selling these products to customers and to contractors. So this is where I gained my experience. This is where my experience came from. When I worked there, I asked questions nonstop about how to install and just trying to get some experience under my belt to learn as much as I could. I asked questions, and whenever there was a chance to install something in our displays or to help out, I was hands-on, I was there, and I was learning exactly what I needed to do. This progressed into me starting jobs on the side whenever I could. I worked 6 days a week in the stone yard, so that left me a day and some few hours here and there to do some side jobs. So I started taking on these really small jobs, and this is where I got my experience from. I was able to apply what I learned in the stone yard to what I was doing and what I was working with customers and installing these little side projects. So with these small side jobs, I was able to save this money and use it towards, getting the right tools and everything that I needed in place to start my business. So my first big break, my first big job, I was able to get a down payment on that job. And then I went out and I used that down payment to buy tools and to, set up the things that I needed in order to complete that job. And then this just continued and it snowballed until I had all the tools and everything that I needed in place to really start my business and to get out there and do what I needed to do. This is how I started my business. This is how I started my business with no experience, through getting a job in the industry, learning as much as I could, applying that knowledge, and getting out there and doing some side jobs in order to make that money and to establish myself, get a little bit of a reputation, get some reviews behind myself, and to purchase the things that I needed in order to start my business full time. Now, you could follow in my footsteps and do the things that I did in order to start my hardscaping business, but there's other ways you can go about this. There's so many different ways that you can go about starting your landscaping or your hardscaping business with no experience and no money. And first things first, learning as much as you can is so important. I'm not saying go out there and sell yourself on having no experience, or go out there and tell a lie to your customers that you've done this before in order to get a job and to get money in your hands. This is not what I'm talking about when I'm saying starting your business with no experience. What I'm talking about is taking the steps to gain that experience and to get that knowledge under your belt. And not only the knowledge, but also the money that you're going to need to purchase the things that you need to purchase to start your hardscaping business. And the first thing that you can do to get this experience is to work for family and friends, or somebody that do something. If you are researching online about how to install a patio or how to install a retaining wall. You need to be able to apply that in the field without, taking on a client or a customer that thinks that you know how to do this. So one way about going about this is to do a little project for somebody and expect nothing in return for it other than you're gaining a little bit of experience and understanding, because there's going to be things that come up in this job that you're going to not really understand how to get around it or to get past it or to fix it. So getting this firsthand experience is so important when you're first starting out. Again, when I was first starting out, I was lucky that, a few jobs that people that I knew, they kind of landed in my lap and they were willing to compensate me for it, understanding that I didn't have my own business or my own experience, that they were understanding that I was just going to come out and help them and let them know how to do things and really just take over their project for them. But they understood what they were getting into in hiring me, and they knew me as a person that could do something for them. So this is how I started to gain my experience. Again, my education in hardscaping started with working and asking as many questions as I could within the industry and learning from that. And then I was able to apply that in the next step and to get a little bit of, firsthand experience under my belt. With that first job that I was able to get a down payment for, this is where I went to the next step of purchasing the things that I needed to complete that first job, to get past that first job, and then get to that next job where I would get another down payment, which then I could use for more tools that I knew I needed for that job. And it's just a snowball effect from there, and to get rolling until, basically I can have my own hardscaping business. And this brings me to another point, which is networking. The great thing about working for a hardscape supplier like I did was creating a network, and I didn't even know it at the time, but I was creating an amazing network, and this network's going to help you later on, and it really helped me later when I started my business. Starting with a hardscape supplier, I'd created a reputation for myself as a hardworking, trustworthy, really good employee that, when I went off and started my own thing, they understood what I was doing. We didn't leave on bad terms, and they had no problem recommending me to customers. Not only that, but I was able to make some really good connections with other contractors, people that were willing to help me when I went off and started my own thing. They didn't necessarily know at the time that I was going to be, I wasn't shopping around with them and telling them, hey, I'm going to be starting my own business. I kind of let the cards fall into place, and they found out, obviously, when I started my business, and they were more than happy to help me, to throw smaller jobs at me that fit my business model but didn't quite fit their business model. And this is where networking comes into play and is so important. These referrals really, really helped me when I was first starting out. It's not having to take some of your money that you're starting out with and putting it into ads or putting it into marketing, but just being able to use that money to grow your business in other ways. It was so important for me when I was starting out, and this is where your network comes into play. As they say, your network is your net worth. So, growing that network from day one and just making sure that you understand that, how you treat people, how you work in any situation really is your brand. It's your personal brand, and you don't want to tarnish that personal brand. You want to, let people know who you are as a person through your work ethic and through how you treat them. So this is where networking comes into play, and it's so important. And like I said, referrals, getting leads, this is difficult when you're first starting out. In my case, these leads were coming to me for free. It made it very easy for me to start my business with no money, but this is not the case for everybody starting out. You will really have to hustle to get these leads into your business, and especially if you want them for free, you need to kind of put that work in right away, or you need to already have started that work to start to get these leads to come into your business. There are ways to invest your time to get these leads. There's also ways to invest your money to get these leads. And it doesn't take a lot of money to get leads into your business these days. The easiest way is to post ads on local classified websites or, Facebook Marketplace. These are free ways that you can use to get your business name out there. You can use Kijiji, you can use Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace to post your services. And these are free leads that can come into your business. In my experience, these types of clients that come through these leads, they're not necessarily the top of the tier customers that are going to spend massive amounts of money on their hardscaping, on their landscaping. But when you're first starting out, these are great leads to get into your business for free, and it'll really help you get the ball moving. And not only are these leads free and they're helping you get your business started, but they'll turn into more leads and more referrals. If you treat that customer really well, they're going to recommend you to the next person, and you never know who that next person is going to be or who their neighbors are or what their neighbors want. So you need to factor in this whenever you're working or whenever you take on a job. You don't know what that's going to lead to. You really don't know. So taking the time and putting in that effort is extremely important when you're first starting out. It's important throughout your whole lifespan of your business, but especially when you're first starting out. You want to make those great impressions right away to get in more referrals and free referrals into your business. Another way of going about this is going door to door. As long as your area permits this, so you may want to research this in advance to know if your area permits this, your location. Now, I did this with limited success when I first started out. When the snow began melting, I went out there first season and I went to areas that I could, new builds and areas that maybe were at that point where maybe they need some repair work. And I went door to door, and, it didn't really work out in my favor. I dropped flyers off. I met with people door to door. But a lot of these areas, they're already getting a lot of door to door traffic. They're already getting a lot of people coming to their door and asking them. At least this has been my experience. So it takes a little bit more hustle, it takes a little bit more presentation, but also having your portfolio with you and prepared to show them your work is really important. And to have a nice flyer to present to them, if this is something that they're interested in, your first impression is extremely important. So in that case, having some printed materials with you beforehand, having business cards, marketing materials, everything with you that you can show them, and to be as professional as possible when you're first meeting that person at the door. Now, honesty is everything when conducting a business. You should let your customers know your experience, and your price point should reflect that experience. Especially when you're first starting out. You're not going to be charging as much as somebody with 20 years experience in the industry that has been doing this for a long, long time. Showing some photos of your work that you've done is a great way to ease the concern of your customer that, you have limited experience in the industry. If they ask you how much experience you've had, don't lie to them. Let them know the honest truth, but also back that up with work that you've done and show them the work that you've done and walk them through the steps that you take and how it matches industry standards, and let them know that you're there to, ease any concerns that they may have. If you are signing up contracts but have yet to invest any money into tools or equipment, that's totally fine. They're not hiring you necessarily for your equipment, because your equipment can be rented out. It can be bought. That's not a problem, but your experience can't be bought. Your knowledge can't be bought. So likely the customer is going to ask you what tools you have, what equipment you have. You can let them know that you rent that equipment if there's equipment that needs to be done. If there's a major excavation that needs to be done, you can subcontract that out. They will be likely fine with that. They wanted to know that just the job is going to go smoothly from your end. Getting some contracts signed is important because you'll want to collect a certain percentage of a deposit that you're going to be able to use to cover materials and also a little bit extra. So you'll want to include this in your contract and discuss with the customer beforehand. You don't want it to be a surprise, when they're signing the contract. Let them know that, you're going to require a little bit of a deposit. They should understand your payment structure as it goes along. In my case, I ask as much as 50% of the contract as a deposit and as a down payment rather. Sometimes as low as 25%, but in that range. Depends on a few things when you're talking about deposit, but you definitely want it to cover your materials at least. If I price a job correctly, materials will cost anywhere from about 15 to 33% of the quoted price. So collecting a deposit of 25 to 50% will really cover me for my materials, any equipment I needed to rent at the time, or whatever else I need, and any extras that may come that are unforeseen. If you're starting out, it also leaves you with some money to purchase tools and to, get your business started. If materials are going to cost you with more than what you're collecting as a down payment when the contract's signed, you have a couple options still to get some cash flow going. You can create a credit account with your Hardscape supplier, which allows you a little bit more time to pay that off. This allows you to save some of your down payment to use to buy tools or to rent equipment. And then once you finish that job, then you can use that money to pay off your Hardscape supplier. Now, I'm not trying to condone, getting credit and, ruining your credit score or not being able to pay people off or pay people back. Remember that you're starting a business and you want to use credit appropriately. You want to use it for what is necessary. Credit can be a good thing. It can also be a really bad thing. Also, understand the timeline for when you are going to get the final payments, or if there's any payments in between the down payment and the final payments. If the job's going to be a really long job, maybe you want to create another payment plan in the middle of that job, where you get to a certain point, the customer has to pay you this percentage as well. And then at the very end, how long does that customer have to pay that final payment? These are all things you need to include in your contract when you're first starting out. And to also understand, if you're opening up credit, that, just because you finish a job doesn't mean you're going to get paid on that day. You need to give your customers some time to pay your final payment, which means then you need to deposit that money into your bank, which will also take some time. And then you need to transfer that money or get that money to whoever is giving you a credit. And so you need to be able to understand, all these timelines and when you can pay off your credit and everything. Now, this is the start of your business. Make sure you go through the motions of registering your business, researching what other processes are involved with creating a legitimate business in your area. You'll also want to look into both business liability and auto insurance, plus any other insurance that would apply to your business. Open a bank account and apply for a credit card if you haven't already done so. These are things that are going to really help out. Again, when you're first starting out, you can rent equipment that you don't have. Yeah, things like plate compactors, saws, anything that you need to get the job done. Hand tools and things like that, you're going to need to buy right away. But the bigger equipment and even the smaller equipment, these are things that can be rented out. So save yourself the money when you're first starting out. Make sure that you're investing the money and the time to get the leads and to get the referrals coming into your business. You may want to begin spending some of your money on marketing to get more qualified leads. Make sure to continue to network with people and to send emails out to people. We're going to be covering this in a later podcast episode about, who you can be emailing to get more leads, more contacts, more people in your network. Shake hands with people, get in with your Hardscape suppliers in the area, let them know your portfolio, what you can do, and see if they can recommend you to customers. Above all, do not stop doing what you're doing. There are going to be some ups and downs in starting your business. It's how you handle these challenges that really makes you a successful or an unsuccessful hardscaper. If you got any questions about what we talked to you about in this podcast episode, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. You can contact us by email, contact@howtohardscape.com, or reach out to us on our Facebook page or Instagram channel. Again, that's How to Hardscape, anywhere you can find us. And thank you for listening to today's podcast. Visit us at howtohardscape.com for more information on this subject, and let us know what you want to learn about in future episodes by reaching out to us on our social channels or at our email address, contact@howtohardscape.com. We'd love it if you'd subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. This really helps us get some traction with this podcast and for us to attract some great guests on this show to deliver you more value. We look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.